With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
America's two great pastimes collide on this podcast. It is baseball and making money. From the dog days of summer through the October Classic, Greg Bases Peterson's going to be free swinging at the betting board as he tries to hit a grand slam for your bankroll. Now here is GP.
Hello everyone and welcome in to MLB Overtime Betting. Greg Peterson broadcasting from the Zuni Tequila Studios out here in Las Vegas. We've got a great show for you. David Adler of MLB.com and their Statcast over there with MLB going to be joining me in the second segment. That's going to be a lot of fun. Going to talk about ballpark factors, guys that are off to tough starts this year that you got to think that they're doing a little bit better than what their stats would indicate and are going to be due to be able to turn it around. We're going to take a look at some of the things that he's been noticing because he's currently out there in New York with regards to Aroldis Chapman as well. So that's going to be fun. In the final segment, we do our feature where we give you a side and total on every game on the Vegas betting board and touch them all. Since we got no Twitter questions today, and you can always fire those in at unit_81 if you ever have a question for the podcast in regards to betting, teams in general, what have you. Always feel free to fire them in. But in this first segment, we are going to take a look back at yesterday, and it was one for under players to rejoice.
What happened yesterday? Let's go around the bases and find out.
All year long, we've been noticing a lot of overs in baseball for full games. Meanwhile, F5s have been doing a little bit better in regards to unders. But on Saturday, unders went 8-4-2, and one of those unders involved a team getting completely shut out as the New York Yankees got a 4-0 win over the Chicago White Sox. It was the first start of the year for CC Sabathia. He went 5 strong innings, gave up only 1 hit, and then the Yankees bullpen gave 4 no-hit innings from there, including Domingo Germán coming out of the pen for 2 innings, had 4 strikeouts there. Very good sign. And Aroldis Chapman hit 100 miles per hour on the gun for the first time all year long. And Aaron Judge, 8th inning home run, was the big difference maker for the Yankees in this one, as they were also laying a 3 spot in the 7th inning. The Chicago White Sox got a good outing from Ivan Nova. He went 6 innings, gave up 1 earned run, only 1 walk, but then from there, the bullpen of the White Sox not necessarily good, though I will say that of the 3 runs they gave up, only 1 was earned. The White Sox fielding, still not good, and that's something you always want to note. You always have that fear with the Orioles as well, but they were able to provide a very nice plus-price win when they took on the Boston Red Sox. They won this game 9-5. Chris Davis, who had entered in having not gotten a hit in over 50 at-bats, gets not 1, not 2, but 3 hits, including 2 doubles and 4 RBI to lead the Orioles to a 9-5 victory. That just warms your heart right there. For the Boston Red Sox, things are just not going right. Rick Porcello gives up 3 runs in 4 innings. He now has an ERA above 11. Needless to say, that's not really good. The guy that was providing a lot of the power for the Boston Red Sox ended up being their backup catcher in Christian Velasquez. He was able to give this team a double. He also went yard for a home run as well, so that was a little bit of a good sign. That was the second home run of the year, but Pat said not too many redeeming qualities there for the Boston Red Sox. And the Orioles right now ahead of the Red Sox in the AL East standings. That is interesting. That was one of the few overs on this day. Another over that was a little bit unexpected. How about the Angels getting a 6-5 win over the Chicago Cubs? In this one, the Angels were without Mike Trout, but Albert Pujols was able to drive in his 6th RBI of the year. A guy in Zach Cozart, who is now hitting 108 for the year, had 3 hits himself. That was good. Brandon Goodwin, 2 hits out there in the middle of the lineup. That was huge. For Chicago, things are just not going right with Kyle Hendricks. He gives up 3 runs, 2 earned in 5 innings. The bullpen from there gives up a couple runs as well. Brad Brock, his ERA is now 4.05. You've got every one of the Cubs relievers that came into this game, and there were 6 of them. Every one of them has an ERA of 3 or above. Jason Hayward continues to do a good job at the plate. He now has 10 RBIs this year. That's a little bit of redeeming quality. He's hitting .375, but Anthony Rizzo and Kyle Schwarber are both hitting a .192. That's something that they need to get righted. The Tampa Bay Rays wound up having their bullpen fail them as they lose to the Toronto Blue Jays 3-1. I had someone ask me why Blake Snell only threw 82 pitches in this game, and that's because Kevin Cash, for some reason, always keeps on a limited pitch count. And then from there, it was the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen giving up 3 runs as Chaz Rowe wound up giving up 2 runs, both earned in 2/3 of an inning. And Jalen Beeks only gave up 1 run in this game. He's actually been a decent reliever for this team. He has a 3.18 ERA. But the Tampa Bay Rays, they just weren't able to do a good job with men in scoring position. 1 for 11 in that regard. It was good to see that Mike Zunino was able to get a triple for this team. He had been really struggling to begin the year. And then for the Toronto Blue Jays, the guy that was able to supply some power was Randall Grichuk. He was able to have a double in this game. He had 3 strikeouts. He's still hitting below 200, but has to be encouraging for this team. And then Lourdes Gurriel had 2 RBI to be able to lift this team to victory. The Colorado Rockies are now 3-12. Their bats have just not woken up so far as the Giants were able to win this game by a count of 5-2. Kyle Freeland looked a little bit better in this game, but he still gave up 3 runs in 5 innings pitched. He's got a 5.40 ERA. He's not the same player that he was last year. Came into the game. He gave up 2 runs as well. The Rockies bullpen is better this year than they were last year, but when this team is only getting a limited amount of opportunities with men in scoring position, they were 0 for 4 with men in scoring position, makes it hard to be able to drive in runs. Mark Reynolds had his 2nd home run of the year. That was encouraging. And then for the Giants, how about the way that Kevin Pillar has come alive? His 3rd home run in the last 4 games. Good quality there. And then Evan Longoria hit a triple as well. That was a huge one for this team. The Washington Nationals were able to get a come from behind win over the Pittsburgh Pirates. They hung a 2 spot in the 8th inning, and those 2 RBI were courtesy of Adam Eaton and Howie Kendrick as they were able to get the job done at the top of the lineup. Anthony Rendon was able to have a hit in this game. He's hitting above 400. And for the Nationals, you have to like that Anibal Sanchez was able to give up 2 runs in 7 innings. He had only 2 strikeouts, but he did a good job of being able to limit hard contact. The 1 hard hit ball that he gave up was to Melky Cabrera, his 1st home run of the year, who, oh, by the way, is now hitting .432. But with the Pirates in general, they just haven't been doing a very good job of hitting so far this year. Francisco Cervelli hitting below .220. Jungle Kong came in as a pinch hitter. He's only hitting a .105. You're noticing a lot of low 200s hitters right now for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who actually got a good outing out of Chris Archer. 7 innings pitched. He didn't jack up his pitch count, only 94 pitches in those innings, had 9 strikeouts. One of the better outings that you're going to see from him this year, but in the 8th inning, Richard Rodriguez wound up giving up those 2 runs. That was the difference there. A team that I don't know what to make of them right now. The Miami Marlins, one of the worst offenses out there in the majors. They get a 10-3 win over the Phillies. It was Zach Eflin who gave up 6 runs over the course of 4 innings. He was a good bet on pitcher last year, and he was off to a good start so far this year, but that was very, very terrible. Sir Anthony Dominguez has been doing a good job of being able to come in, but Juan Niasco gave up 4 runs as well. That is something that you really got to note whenever he goes into the game as Sir Anthony. Getting the job done, Niasco not so much. It was good that the Phillies were able to generate 3 runs in that 9th inning, even though it was in garbage time. And if you're a Miami Marlins fan, gotta like the fact that Neil Walker had his 3rd home run of the year. But the real story in this one, how about the call-up having himself a huge game? Austin Dean winds up going 4 for 4, 5 RBI, including his 1st home run of the year. That was absolutely huge. And then at the 3rd base spot, getting his 1st stinger of the year, Brian Anderson. So that's exactly what the Miami Marlins needed. They were hitting very badly going into this game. That was one of the few overs. And then we're noticing that there's going to be games being played this weekend out there in Mexico City. That series involves the St. Louis Cardinals and the Reds. The Reds get a 5-2 win in this one. They were able to power themselves late as the Cardinals were able to, ironically enough, get a single out of the pitcher for their 1st run of the game, and then they would not score until a Colton Wong 9th inning home run from there. For the Cincinnati Reds, you've still got a bunch of guys that are really struggling out there in the lineup. Winkler at the top of the lineup is hitting a .162. Yasiel Puig, .132. Matt Kemp hasn't gotten things going. The list goes on and on, Jose Iglesias, but Dan Diedrich hit his 4th home run of the year, and then the aforementioned Winkler had his 3rd of the campaign. They were able to wield this team to victory. And Tanner Roark, 5.1 innings, gave up only 1 run. Maybe he's starting to find something with the Cincinnati Reds. but a team that has really found something, the Milwaukee Brewers, they continue to stay hot as the Dodgers have now lost 6 straight games. If you've been fading the Dodgers, you've been doing a great job, as Caleb Ferguson wound up getting the start in this game. They essentially went with the all-bullpen model. He gave up 1 run, and he wound up taking the loss. And the guy that really blew it for the Dodgers, who actually got some good bullpen pitching towards the latter half of the game, but it just takes one reliever to blow it. And in this one, it was Dennis Santana, who gave up 3 runs and had 3 walks issued in 1.1 innings. That was the difference in the game. As for the Milwaukee Brewers, Zach Davies continues to be a guy that you want to back. 7 innings, gives up 1 run, 6 Ks. Terrific job there. Junior Guerra gets his first save of the year. He had a 2-inning save, and that means that you're probably going to be able to see Josh Hader if he winds up needing to be in action on Sunday. Mike Moustakas was able to hit his 5th home run of the year, and Orlando Arcia his 3rd. Very encouraging signs for the Brewers, as both those bats were struggling going into this game. So if you're a Brewers fan, you got to like the fact that Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich, and Ryan Braun want to combine 1 for 14, yet the Brewers were able to get the win. The Arizona Diamondbacks were able to make a rally against the San Diego Padres. We got up 4-0, but it wasn't enough. Padres win this game 5-4, as in the 7th inning, they were able to get a home run out of Fanmil Reyes. You're going to hear him mentioned a little bit more in the next segment, but that was his 3rd home run of the year. Fernando Tatis Jr. also went deep for his 4th. Matt Stram did a very good job in this game. I've been one that's been fading a lot of relievers that go into starting pitching roles. He was one of them. He was off to a rough start to begin the year, but he winds up going 5 innings, gives up no runs whatsoever. The San Diego Padres bullpen does have a problem by the name of Gerardo Reyes, though. He gave up all 4 of the runs in this one, as the Arizona Diamondbacks were able to get their runs courtesy of just a variety of different guys. They were able to play a little bit of small ball. Adam Jones had a RBI in this one. You have to like that Nick Ahmad was able to get things done at the bottom of the lineup. He had 2 hits and an RBI as well, but for the Arizona Diamondbacks, it was Merrill Kelly who gave up 4 runs in his start, and then Matt Andriese gave up the home run to Fanmil Reyes that cost the Arizona Diamondbacks. But all in all, you have to like what you're seeing out of them. You have to also like what you're seeing out of the Atlanta Braves offense, as they hung 8 runs in the first 2 innings en route to an 11-7 win over the New York Mets. You just can't be betting on Jason Vargas at this point. In his start, he went 1/10 of an inning and gave up 4 runs, and then from there, Corey Oswald poured lighter fluid on the game. In 3.2 innings, he gives up 5 runs, all of which were earned. And then you had Avilan and Robbie Gazelman both giving up a run as well. This Mets bullpen stinks. And for the Atlanta Braves, Sean Newcomb continues to be wildly inconsistent. Touki Toussaint had to come in to relieve him. He gives up 1 run, none of which were earned, in 6 innings of relief and gets the win. Sean Newcomb, in his start, 1.1 innings, gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned. Just a bad showing there, but you have to like the fact that Nick Markakis and Josh Donaldson got their first home runs of the year. And for the Atlanta Braves, Ozzie Albies, Josh Donaldson, Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna Jr., Nick Markakis, and Camargo all had 2 hits apiece in this game. You had to like that, and the only player that didn't get an RBI out of those players was Ozzie Albies. It was just a hit parade there for the Atlanta Braves. And then the Houston Astros got another good start out of Justin Verlander, who continues to just defy time. 6 innings, 11 Ks, gives up 1 run. He was absolutely sensational. And then from there, the Houston Astros bullpen was able to shut the door with 3 scoreless innings. Felix Hernandez looks a little bit better, but though he gave up 3 runs in this game, 2 of which were long balls. Houston was able to get the job done with Robinson Chirinos and Jose Altuve both going deep. Chirinos, that was his 2nd of the year, and for Altuve, that was his 9th, as the Seattle Mariners just weren't able to get a lot of offense in this game. Daniel Vogelbach had 2 of the team's 4 hits, so interesting to see if the Mariners might be falling back to earth a little bit, and a offense that is very anemic at this point. Homer Bailey got a shutout win. Yeah, Homer Bailey goes 7 innings, gives up 2 hits against the Cleveland Indians, and the Kansas City Royals get a 3-0 win there. The guys that were able to lift them to victory, Whit Merrifield, Mondesi, and Ryan O'Hearn all had an RBI for this team, as the Royals offense themselves didn't really have straight fire, as Jeffrey Rodriguez in his first career start goes 5.2 innings, gives up 2 runs, both of which were earned. Not really a bad showing there. And then from there, it was Cody Anderson giving up a run in 2 innings of relief, so not really much to write home about there for the Indians, but their offense really struggling. You've got Jose Ramirez batting $135, Hanley Ramirez $179, Jake Bauers $159, Kevin Plawecki $125, just absolutely incredible. you knew that the Francisco Lindor injury was going to be bad, but you had no idea that it was going to be this. So lots of big takeaways from the MLB on this day. Some bettable stats, some that are just a little bit of anomalies. And then you also had, cannot forget this one, the Tigers falling short against the Minnesota Twins by a count of 4-3. And for the Minnesota Twins, you had to like the fact that they were able to get Michael Pineda going after a little bit of a rocky start. The Tigers were able to hang a 2-spot in the third inning. He was able to get through 6 innings, though. He gave up only 3 runs, and from there, the bullpen had 3 scoreless innings themselves, as the guy that was really able to get the job done at the plate was Eddie Rosario with 2 RBIs. So that was the results from yesterday. Now we got to take a look forward to today. And guys that are going to be able to make you some money in future days, and helping me do so is going to be the one and only David Adler of MLB.com and MLB Statcast. That is up next right here on MLB Overtime Betting.
Greg is going to the bullpen as he makes a call to the Azuña hotline.
And we're back here on MLB Overtime Betting, broadcasting from the Azuña Tequila Studios out here in beautiful Las Vegas. Great pleasure to be joined by our next guest. It is David Adler. You can follow him on Twitter at _DADLER. So that is the word dad and then LER. He does terrific work for MLB.com, and he also works with their Statcast group as well. Does tremendous work being able to track baseball, track some of the things that we're seeing in baseball. And David, how are you on this fine day?
Oh, I'm great. It was a great day to watch a game. Was at the Yankees-White Sox game. Good to be on the podcast. So it's all good with me. How's it going with you?
I'm doing great, thank you. And another guy that had a terrific Saturday. How about Chris Davis? Going into today, he had the longest streak of a position player without a hit in the history of baseball. And then on Saturday, he gets not 1, not 2, but 3 hits. Obviously, I think that we both feel very, very good for the guy, but just how weird was it that he was in this streak? Because I was making the jokes and everything like that, but I was going back and watching some of the replays of some of his outs, and it's like, how is this guy just not getting a hit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was crazy. It basically became like must-see TV every time he was getting an at-bat, just to see if the streak would go on. And yeah, and like some of the outs he hit into were crazy. I mean, yesterday when he pinch hit into the line drive out, we have our Statcast tracking, every ball, based on the exit velocity launch angle, we give it an expected batting average, and his line out had a 970 expected batting average. So 97% of the time it's a hit, and it was an out for him. So you think, well, is this ever going to end? And he broke out in great style. So he was 0 for 9 on hard hit balls this season. So, I mean, that's 95 miles per hour or harder off the bat, and basically hard hit balls, the batting average league wide is over 500. So you would have thought that he would have probably a few hits on those balls. And you get line out, fly out. And finally today, he hit a few more balls hard. They were all hard hit. Got 3 hits. Great for him.
Exactly. I totally agree with you there. And then something else that we saw in that game was the Baltimore Orioles being able to get a win. The Baltimore Orioles, obviously, not necessarily the cream of the crop in the league, but I feel like many of us, through the first 15 games of the year, would be a little bit surprised that they have 6 wins and the Boston Red Sox have 5. I mean, I don't know what you've really noticed with these two teams, but I just think that it's stunning that the defending world champions are right now behind the Baltimore Orioles in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, that is stunning. And you look at the teams, you look at the rosters, and you think, how could this possibly be? But hey, Red Sox got off to one of their worst start, maybe their worst start ever through 10, 11 games. They're obviously not out, not close to out. And I'm pretty confident that at the end of the year, the Red Sox are going to have a much better record than the Orioles. But I mean, yeah, even 15 games in, you wouldn't have expected this.
No,
that division, the standings are a lot different than what you might have expected at the beginning of the year.
It is really weird, as we've got David Adler joining me right here on MLB Overtime Betting. Does terrific work for MLB.com and Statcast as well. And then I know that you were at that White Sox versus Yankees game on Saturday, and you had the chance to see Aroldis Chapman pitch. I recall earlier this year, Aroldis Chapman blew a save, and quite honestly, towards the end of 2018, he just didn't look like his normal self. What'd you see out of him? Because I think he reached 100 miles per hour for the first time all year on Saturday when he was in for relief.
Yep. That is exactly right. This is the best I've seen him all year. That's for sure. Yeah, he threw 4 pitches, 100 plus miles per hour. He had 0 coming into today this year. His max was 99.5. Like Aaron Boone said after the game, it wasn't just the velocity. He was really locating well. But I mean, like, location's great, but like the thing that makes Aroldis Chapman so intimidating is the velocity, and you want to see him throwing 100 miles per hour or harder. And plus, all the fans want to see that. They got the little fire graphic on the scoreboard when he hits 100. His first pitch was 99, 99.3, and then second pitch 100.1, hit 100 again right after that, and then his last 2 pitches 100 and 100.4, which is the game-ending pitch. That's his fastest of the year so far. He's also got great spin on the fastball. He's got a lot of carry, a high spin rate. Gives you the little rising fastball effect. And so Aroldis Chapman throwing 100, good sign. Locating well, also good sign. So I mean that would be encouraging, especially since the Yankees bullpen has not really pitched like it's been cracked up to be so far.
Another encouraging sign out there in the majors was the Cubs being able to get up off the mat. This was from Friday that they were able to knock off the Angels. Things not necessarily going their way on Saturday, but for the Cubs, they got 2 massive home runs. Anthony Rizzo hit one over 470 feet, and Wilson Contreras went over 460 plus. And my question to you, because I always see these stat graphs and everything like that with regards to Wrigley Field, how much of an impact would you say the wind makes whenever you see those home runs? Because obviously the Wilson Contreras and Anthony Rizzo home runs, well, I don't care how much wind there is. If it's going 460 feet, that's going to be out on any given day. But I'm talking about some of those balls that get out by like 3 or 4 feet. How much of a difference does that wind make?
Oh yeah, I mean the wind definitely makes a big impact when it's blowing out on those fly balls. That might be borderline. We don't have like a firm like ballpark effect thing for the weather and stuff, but those balls that are in like kind of the borderline home run range. I mean, not Anthony Rizzo hitting 110 plus mile per hour homers or Wilson Contreras. These balls, they're hit so hard that they're obviously going to be homers no matter what. They're even more impressive homers when the wind's blowing out and, they clear, and Anthony Rizzo clears the bleachers. That's pretty awesome. So, but yeah, I mean, that's a huge ballpark effect, like when, depending on how the wind is blowing.
We've got David Adler joining me right here on MLB Overtime Betting. And would you say that the wind at Wrigley Field makes the biggest impact of any stadium out there, or are there a couple others that you find sometimes there's a little bit of different effects? Because I know that Chicago also has another team out there by the name of the White Sox over there at Guaranteed Rate Field. I know that sometimes they have some weird effects. We even see it where you are right now, Yankee Stadium. Sometimes wind can really affect there. Would you say that Wrigley takes the cake, though, in regards to how the wind can affect things with hitters?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say for the wind, that's what it seems like to me. Now, I can't give you like a definite answer. Like I don't have the proof for this, but from what I've seen, I do watch the baseball too. It's not all just the exit velocity tracking, but Wrigley has the biggest wind effect that I have noticed. I mean, like obviously, like Coors Field has a giant ballpark effect for the altitude. Like I wouldn't say that Wrigley Field has as big a ballpark effect as Coors, like, but that's not wind. That's just the altitude.
Elevation, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, as we have noticed in recent years, though, the Rockies' totals have actually gone a little bit lower than they were in the past. I remember there were so many years where the Rockies were just playing these games with both these teams were just getting double digits left, right, and sideways, so it was absolutely insane. Have they done anything with regards to doctoring up the baseballs, or I know that they always have the humidor and everything like that. Have they really been trying to do that to try to get the runs down or anything like that? Or do you attribute it all to pitching? Because as we know, the Rockies pitching has been better in recent years than it has been in a very long time.
Yeah, I don't think it's I wouldn't say it's the balls that, as like that big of a thing for Coors in particular. I mean, you still look at, hard hit balls, like get better results at Coors than they do elsewhere. So if the slugfests are fewer, it would probably have to do with pitching getting better across the league and things like that. Like when every reliever is throwing, 95 miles an hour and has a wipeout breaking ball, sometimes offenses are going to struggle. And the Rockies in particular have had some, better pitchers. I mean, Kyle Freeland last year had like one of the best years of pitching at Coors Field of like any Rocky starter in franchise history. And, German Marquez looks like, a very like really promising, talented young guy. And so I don't know, what effect the ball has had for Rocky's offense. I mean, of course, like when the D-backs, started with their humidor stuff like that has a real effect on the exit velocity of the balls and how far the balls travel and whatnot. But I mean, yeah, so does the pitching.
Absolutely, and I have noticed that with the Diamondbacks the past couple years as well, with their games having a little bit lower scoring effects. As currently on the line with me is David Adler of MLB.com on MLB Overtime Betting. And David, are there a couple guys out there that you think that we should keep our eye on that haven't necessarily had the best results out there at the plate or on the mound, that they're putting good contact in there, they're putting in their good pitches, but the results just are not coming their way? There are some anomalies and things are bound to turn around for them?
Oh, yeah. There are always guys like that. Franmil Reyes on the Padres has had some, it seems like, terrible batted ball luck. I mean, first of all, he's a huge dude. He really can hit the ball. Right now, his expected metrics based on, on his quality of contact, he's been far underperforming his expected metrics. So, like, we have, our overall stat expected WOBA, weighted on base average, where it takes the quality of contact of every batted ball that the hitter has, combines it, walks, strikeouts, gives you a number, basically like on base percentage. And his expected WOBA is 481 coming into today. Very, very high. And his actual WOBA is 287, very, very low.
Oh, wow.
That's almost a 200-point gap. It's the biggest gap of any hitter. And this is a guy who we know has really like big time power. If he's going to keep really hitting the ball really hard like he does, then you would think that his numbers would get better. Even Chris Davis has been underperforming his expected numbers. So, and then you finally see him get 3 hits. But Chris Davis also strikes out a ton, so I wouldn't count on him having like a good season or anything like that. JD Davis on the Mets has made really good contact quality and has gotten good results too, but he's also underperformed his expected metrics. Someone like Hunter Dozier on the Royals, he hits the ball hard a lot as well. His expected WOBA is 421. That's like very high above average. And then his actual WOBA is 331, which is only kind of slightly above where league average would be, around 310, 320. Nico Goodrum on the Tigers has been hitting really well, but he's also been hitting really well, and he plays at Comerica, and that a lot of hard hit fly balls go out to die in center field there. And so there's a lot of these guys. We have all this publicly available. You can see all our Statcast expected metrics and look at these gaps on Baseball Savant, baseballsavant.mlb.com. We have these expected statistics leaderboards. So if you want to look at the whole list of all major league hitters, feel free to go there. You can look at their quality of contact and you can see the gaps and who has the biggest unlucky quote unquote gaps. It's pretty interesting to see those names.
I think it's terrific, and I think it's great for people out there that are looking for a little bit of an edge in regards to trying to get to the window with sports betting and everything like that, because you got to think someone like Nico Goodrum, who I've been noting on this podcast, has been hitting a ton of doubles, but for the life of him, he just can't get a home run to save his life, even though he's hitting all these hard hit balls. You got to think that eventually that's going to come through, and there's always just a regression to the mean in baseball, because it's really easy to have a good/bad 10 to 15 game stretch. Over the course of 162 games, you and I both know that things are going to even out by the end of the year. You might have a little bit of an outlier, but you're not going to have a very, very extreme one.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope not. Otherwise that guy is going to be really disappointed at the end of the year. I mean, this is not Albert Pujols, just as an example of a few years ago, back when he still had, the 30 home run power, Mike Socha used to always say almost every day, Albert's hitting the ball harder than we're seeing in the stat sheet. And it would be that way all year. And then at the end of the year, his numbers would still not look like what he wanted. But you would hope that if a guy hits the ball hard enough, his numbers will be there at the end.
Agreed. And David, I know you do some tremendous work out there for Statcast and the MLB. Would like to close it up with this. You mentioned where the people can find all the leaders in regards to where their expected numbers should be, the outliers and everything like that. Where can they find your work and what you're doing? Because I know you're doing some very good stuff out there.
My articles all go up on MLB.com. I'll hopefully usually tweet them out. So if you see my Twitter and you see, I tweet out, in addition to all the graphics and whatnot, which are my favorite things to tweet because people really seem to enjoy those. That's usually where my articles are. Right now, yeah, the best way to find my articles is to look for me to tweet them out, or for me to retweet someone who's linked to them. And I hope everyone does go read them, and I hope everybody likes them.
I like them. I've been one that's been reading quite a few of these, so I always enjoy the work, and I always like the graphics as well, because I'm a little bit more of a visual learner, as they say, and it always gives you a nice little picture. So a big thanks to David Adler of Statcast and MLB.com for joining me right here on MLB Overtime Betting. And now it is that time of the show in which I give you a side and total on every game on today's betting board as we touch them all.
Hey, I'm Steve Heitner, the guy who uttered the famous phrase, "That's gold." And that's the inspiration of my new podcast, That's Gold with Steve Heitner. We talk sports, sports betting, movies, comedy, food, drink, Vegas, music, movies, and more. 5 days a week. Did I say movies twice? Look, guys love it, whether they're hip or worried about breaking a hip. Find us on Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify and Stitcher. That's Gold with me, Steve Heitner.
Welcome back to MLB Overtime. Greg is throwing a gem, so yeah, he better not blow it.
And we're back here in the Zunia Tequila Studios out in beautiful Las Vegas for MLB Overtime Betting. A big thanks to David Adler of MLB.com and Statcast for joining me in the last segment. And now it is that time that I give you a side and total on every game on today's betting board. And we do so on this fine Sunday in a little something I call Touch 'em all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch 'em all.
Note that any changes that are made to these plays are going to be noted on my Twitter page at @GUnit_81. Some of these plays are all locked in and they are good to go. Other of these plays, well, they are going to be up in the air a little bit, and I will note that as we go along. And we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order, and we start with 951, 952 on the betting rotation. It is the Philadelphia Phillies going on the road to face off against the Miami Marlins. Vince Velasquez goes for the Philadelphia Phillies. Jose Urena for the Miami Marlins. The total on this game is 8.5, and it is shaded under. You want to go under, that is between -115 and -120 juice. If you like the over, that is between even juice and -105. The Marlins, despite winning yesterday, a pretty hefty underdog in this one. If you want to take the Marlins, you're getting anywhere between +155 and +163. If you want to lay with the Phillies, you're going to be laying anywhere between -174 and -176. Jose Urena has been a gas can pitcher so far this year. He just has absolutely nothing going for him. Last year, I could actually make the case that he was a little bit of a tough luck loser. This year, not so much. Meanwhile, with the Philadelphia Phillies, after the performance that they put up yesterday, you got to think that they're going to be a little bit mad, and you got to think that the big bats are going to be coming out. Gene Segura hitting over 300 so far this year. You know that Bryce Harper is going to be due for a couple hits. The Miami Marlins had by far their best offensive output of the year yesterday, and I think that they are going to be coming back to earth. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies on the run line. I'm currently seeing a price of -105, and I do think that you're going to get a lot of runs out of the Philadelphia Phillies, and perhaps this is what the Marlins needed to be able to bust out, as it was a really big surprise that Miguel Rojas was able to give this team 3 hits. He was absolutely sensational yesterday for the Marlins as they were able to put up 18 hits. Lewis Brinson is only hitting .226, but he's actually been better than expected so far this year after he was so bad last year. And for the Miami Marlins, maybe they found something in Austin Dean. He gets a call up from AAA, and he winds up hitting 5 RBI yesterday, so obviously that's a sign in the right direction, along with Neil Walker being able to hit. Though Curtis Granderson still hitting a .158, GT Riddle still below 200. I do think that for the Phillies, they're going to get a lot of offense here as well. Sean Kingery has been doing a good job whenever he's gotten the call for Maikel Franco. You've got Odubel Herrera's hitting nearly 300. Reese Hoskins has been mashing so far this year, and you've got Andrew McCutchen as well. So I think you've got so many bats that the Phillies get things right, and they're able to win this thing convincingly. I actually have locked in the Phillies at -105 on the run line, and I am taking this total over because right now I am noticing that the juice is ticking in the favor of the Philadelphia Phillies, likely in a little bit of a bounce back spot here. So Phillies and over the play there. 903, 904 on the betting rotation. It is the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they are on the road to face off against the Washington Nationals. Total on this game is 7.5, and it is shaded under across the board. If you like the under in this game, it is between minus 115 and minus 120. The over is between even money and minus 105. And the Pirates, as expected, a pretty heavy underdog. You're getting anywhere between plus 165 and even up to plus 175 on the Pirates. Meanwhile, if you want to lay it with the Washington Nationals, you're laying anywhere between minus 180 and minus 190. And that is in large part due to the pitcher that is on the mound for the Washington Nationals, as Max Scherzer is going to be taking the bump for the Nationals. Meanwhile, Jameson Taillon goes for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I do feel like this is a spot where you can take a shot on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jameson Taillon, past couple years, has been one of the more undervalued pitchers out there in baseball. We all know that the Pittsburgh Pirates bats, well, they're not necessarily the best. I do like the fact that Josh Bell has been able to hit a couple home runs for this team. He's hitting nearly 300, so he's been doing the job in the middle of the lineup. But Jung-Ho Kang and company not really being able to do much, as Adam Frazier and Sterling Marte at the top of the lineup have been decent. Marte seems to be coming around, even though he's hitting only 226, but Francisco Cervelli has been in a little bit of a rut. Melky Cabrera, I will say, I'm probably underselling. He's hitting over 400 this year, but it's guys like Shuck and Gonzalez that aren't doing a whole heck of a lot. Meanwhile, for the Nationals, you've got one guy in particular that's doing a tremendous job in Anthony Rendon. So far this year, he is hitting 412. He's been able to take a lot of guys deep. We've seen Juan Soto be able to pick up his power, as well as with Rendon. He is currently hitting for 6 home runs. He has been absolutely sensational for this team. Adam Eaton at the top of the lineup was able to get 3 hits yesterday. He was the reason why the Nationals were able to get a 3-2 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I do think that this is going to be another lower scoring game. I'm right now trying to see how the juice shakes out on this one, but I am taking a look at an under just because you do have a late hitting team in the Pittsburgh Pirates. You do have a very good pitcher out there with Max Scherzer, but I think that in the end, the Pirates are going to be able to prevail. We have noticed that Max Scherzer so far this year hasn't necessarily been the Max Scherzer of old. He's still a very good pitcher. He's still probably going to go out there. He's going to pitch 6 innings, give up 1, maybe 2 runs, but Jameson Taillon, I think, could match him, and I like the bullpen of the Pirates a whole heck of a lot more than I like the Washington Nationals bullpen, which has been one of the worst out there in the big so far. So for that reason, I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Pirates at plus 175, and I'm going to lock it in. I'm currently in wait-and-see mode on the under, see if I can get a little bit of better juice there. 955, 956 on the main rotation. It is the St. Louis Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds actually meeting up in the country of Mexico, as it is Anthony DeScalfani going for the Cincinnati Reds. Meanwhile, Miles Mikolas goes for the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals are between a minus 120 and minus 124 favorite. If you like the Reds, you're going to get anywhere between plus 105 and plus 114. Total in this game is 10.5. And the over and under is minus 110 both ways. This is one of those unique things where they're playing this game in Mexico. They are doing the whole series out there, which I thought was interesting. We saw yesterday it was actually a little bit of a lower scoring game. I do think that this does lend to the under, as this game is being played in. It's called Estadio de Baseball Monterrey, out there in Monterrey, Mexico. Hopefully you guys like me pulling off that accent, but for the year, the Cincinnati Reds as a team are hitting right around 200. Things have not really been going well for them. They've got a lot of guys that are injured, not necessarily critical pieces other than Sonny Gray, but they still just aren't getting a lot of power generated. Eugenio Suarez, he's hitting for average, but he's not really giving the team a lot of pop. Right now, Dan Diedrich has 3 home runs and 8 RBI for the team. He's been doing a solid job, but Joey Votto isn't what he was in past years. Tucker Barnhart has been doing a nice job of being able to get on base for this team too, but they were made look silly by Adam Wainwright, who took a no-hitter into the 6th inning yesterday. I mean, that is something that is just downright unacceptable right there. You've also got Iglesias, who's hitting just above 2 bills. Yasiel Puig has not gotten things going, along with Matt Kemp. Both of them are hitting below 200. Winkler at the top of the lineup has been just terrible. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, you got a couple guys that are right now doing a good job for this team. Colt Wong and Paul DeJong have both been overachieving, I would say, a little bit. Harrison Bader has not been doing well whatsoever. He's really in a cold spell. Paul Goldschmidt is providing a lot of power, but he is not really hitting for average. He's only hitting around 210 right now. Matt Carpenter at the top lineup, not doing a great job of being able to get on either. Yadier Molina seems to be picking things up, but he too not necessarily ripping the cover off the ball. And with Mikolas, he has had a rough start to the year, 6.19 ERA. He had a feeling that last year was a little bit of a outlier, but I do think that he's going to be able to get right. I think that he's going to have a solid start in this game. I think that DeScalfani also going to give the Reds a couple of solid innings. I just have a little bit more faith in Mikolas, and I think that the overall bats of the Cardinals are better. So for that reason, I'm actually going to take a look at the Cardinals run line in the spot. Right now I'm seeing a price of plus 125, so I'm in wait-and-see mode there, trying to see if I can get more of a 130 or 135. And I'm also going to take this total under, going to try to see if I can get a little bit of better juice there as well. So going to be on the Cardinals run line and the under in this spot. 957, 958 on the betting rotation. It is the Colorado Rockies in San Francisco to face off against the Giants. Derek Holland goes for the Giants. Herman Marquez goes for the Colorado Rockies. If you like the Rockies, you're going to be laying between minus 118 and minus 120. If you want to take a shot on the Giants, that is anywhere between plus 108 and plus 110. The total on this game is 7, and it is shaded over. Over is between minus 115 and minus 120. The under is between even money and minus 105. I do like the Rockies in the spot. They haven't had a good start to the series, and they haven't had a good start to the season in general. You have to like the fact that yesterday they were able to get a home run out of Mark Reynolds. Perhaps that'll get him going and just get the contact in general going for a 3-12 Colorado Rockies squad. Trevor Story seems to be picking up. He's now hitting 241, 4 home run, 9 RBI. But Nolan Arenado has been struggling a little bit more than we expected, only hitting 246 so far this year. David Dahl in the middle of the lineup has been able to provide a little bit of something, but you just have so many bats out there with the Colorado Rockies that are not getting it going. Charlie Blackmon's hitting 233. Garrett Hampson has actually picked it up to get his average to 163. Ian Desmond sitting below 200. Mark Reynolds is hitting below 200. Chris Iannetta 207. The list of guys that are underachieving goes on. And then with the San Francisco Giants, you don't have too many redeeming qualities with this lineup either. Solarte, who's hitting below 200. Kevin Pillar is hitting $161. Evan Longoria is hitting below 200. Buster Posey has gotten to 227. And Pablo Sandoval, of all people, is actually one of their best hitters. Brandon Belt hasn't been doing a lot. Joe Panik neither. But I do think that this is a spot where the Rockies bats are going to be able to get right, just because I don't have a lot of faith in Derek Holland. I know he enters this game with a 3.38 ERA, and he's been pitching a little bit better in the past couple days, but keep in mind, both these bullpens were completely exhausted on Friday, so I think that that is going to lend itself to runs. I think that Marquez is going to be able to go deep in this game. I think that Holland will not be able to go deep in this game, so for that reason, I'm going to be on this total over, and I've already locked in the over, and I'm currently in wait-and-see mode to see what sort of a price I get on the Rockies. I think that the Rockies bats are really going to bust out in this game. 959, 960 on the betting rotation. It is the San Diego Padres going on the road to face off against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Zach Greinke takes a bump for the Diamondbacks. Meanwhile, Eric Lauer goes for the San Diego Padres. The total on this game is 8.5, and it's shaded over. Over is between minus 110 and minus 115. Under is between minus 110 and minus 105. If you want to take a shot on the Padres, you're going to get a plus price. That is anywhere between plus 117 and plus 125. Meanwhile, with the Diamondbacks, you're laying between minus 128 and minus 135. Zach Greinke, we've noticed, has lost a little bit of zip on his fastball. I know that Mike Farron, when he joined the program a couple days ago, said that that's just in general due to Greinke's age and not due to him having dead arm or anything like that. And it's a little bit of a concern because he enters this contest with a 7.16 ERA, a whip of 1.41. He's not necessarily walking a ton of guys, but he's just lending himself to hard contact. And something we've noticed about the San Diego Padres is that they've got a lot of guys that are hitting the ball and hitting the ball hard. You just heard from our guy, David Adler, that Famio Reyes is really hitting the ball well. He's just not really finding the holes, so I think that this could be a game in which he busts out. Manny Machado has been doing a great job of being able to provide for this team. Eric Hosmer was able to give the team a good performance yesterday. He had a 2 RBI hit to begin the game that was really able to help them out. Hunter Renfroe has been hitting some home runs. Fernando Tatis Jr. has a pop in the bat. Ian Kinsler hasn't gotten it going, but I think that he will. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, you've got some good bats as well. Adam Jones is hitting above 300. He's been able to hit some home runs. I like that David Peralta at the middle of the lineup is still hitting above 340. He has been absolutely sensational for this team this year, even though he's a little bit more of a 30 home run guy. And entering into Saturday's action, he had just one, but all in all, I like what he's able to do. You've got Escobar at the third base spot. He's starting to come around. Nick Ahmad is hitting nearly 300 as well. So he's really been helping them out. And you got to think that at some point Wilmer Flores is going to bust out. And Ketel Marte, also a decent bat. But I do think that Eric Lauer is a up-and-coming pitcher. He's been very average so far this year, but I think that he's going to be able to find himself in this game. So for that reason, I'm going to be playing this total under. And I do think that the plus price here with the Padres is good because I just really like the way that the Padres bullpen is able to come in and close out games. And I do think that Zach Greinke's getting a little bit long in the tooth. So for that reason, going to go with the San Diego Padres and going to go with this total under. Both of these plays are in wait-and-see mode, trying to see if I can get better numbers on both. 961, 962 on the betting rotation. It is the Milwaukee Brewers, and they are in Los Angeles to face off against the Dodgers. Ross Stripling goes for the Dodgers. Meanwhile, Ulysse Chassin for the Milwaukee Brewers. Total in this game is 9, and it is shaded under between minus 115 and minus 120. The over is between minus 105 and even juice. There is 1.8.5 out there. If you like the over on that 8.5, it is minus 120. The under is even. And if you like the Milwaukee Brewers, you're going to get a plus price. Anywhere between plus 130 and plus 136 on the Brewers. Meanwhile, if you like the Dodgers, you're laying anywhere between minus 143 and minus 146. And this is a spot where I've got to look at the Brewers once again. They've been undervalued in this series the entire way, and I just think that the outfield of the Brewers is really going to be able to put up some runs once again. Christian Yelich, Ryan Braun, and Lorenzo Cain have all been doing a terrific job for this team. And how about the former Dodger Yasmani Grandal? Entering into Saturday evening's action, he was hitting above 380 for this team, so he had been absolutely sensational. Meanwhile, with the Dodgers, you got to think that the bullpen's a little bit taxed because they had to send out their Caleb Ferguson as a starter yesterday. Not necessarily a redeeming quality there. With the Brewers, you also have some bats that are a little bit tired towards the bottom of the lineup. Mike Moustakas, Jesus Aguilar, and Travis Shaw all entered into Saturday's action, hitting below 200. And for the Dodgers, you've obviously got a lot of pop. Cody Bellinger, probably the best hitter in the bigs right now. He had 7 home runs in his first 10 games of the season. Kike Hernandez hitting above 300. Justin Turner has been finding himself. AJ Pollock has been a little bit cold lately, but he got off to a nice start. And Max Muncy has been doing a great job at the first base spot as well. And then whenever they bring in David Freese, he's also picked it up as well. I do like the way that the bats are operating for this team, but with that said, I do think that Chassin is going to be able to provide a quality performance. We've seen him be able to pitch well against the Dodgers in the past. He is doing one with a 4.24 ERA. You got to think that he's probably going to go 5 or 6 innings, and then he's going to turn it over to a terrific Brewers bullpen, one in which seems to be very well rested with the good starts that they've been getting recently. I know that Corbin Burns threw a little bit of a monkey wrench into things recently, but I do think that Ross Stripling also going to give a quality outing for the Dodgers. He's not necessarily a great pitcher, but he does a good job of limiting hard contact and being able to not walk a ton of guys. So for that reason, I'm going to be playing this total under, and I'm going to be on the Brewers. Been noticing that a lot of steam has been coming in on the Dodgers, so I'm in wait-and-see mode there. I'm trying to see if I can get more of a minus 110 on that under of 9 runs as well. 963, 964 on the betting rotation. It is the New York Mets in Atlanta to face off against the Braves. Julio Teheran goes for the Atlanta Braves. Jacob deGrom for the New York Mets. The total on this game is 8.5, and that is between minus 110 and minus 115 juice on the under. The over is between minus 105 and minus 110. If you like the New York Mets, you're going to be laying anywhere between minus 145 and minus 155. Meanwhile, if you want to take the Braves, you're going to get anywhere between plus 135 and plus 145. And this is a spot where you just got to look at Jacob deGrom, and I think that he is going to be able to become his normal self. After his last start, he got really badly roughed up by the Twins. It was the first time they gave up like 4 or more runs in a start in so long that it wasn't even funny. This is a primetime game, and typically we see deGrom's best when the lights are bright. And Julio Teheran, he has been a bad pitcher in April throughout his career. He's off to a 1-1 start with a 6 ERA. He does a good job of being able to get strikeouts, but this is a gentleman right here that he gives out the free passes. 8 walks and 15 innings so far this year, and last year he wasn't a whole heck of a lot better. He gave out 84 walks and 175 and 2/3 innings, so he certainly has that issue. And with the New York Mets, you don't need to give them free passes for them to really start to rake. As Pete Alonso, entering into Saturday's action, had 6 home runs, 17 RBI, was hitting 370. He has been absolutely sensational for this team. And you take a look up and down the lineup, the Mets are really starting to get the bats going. Wilson Ramos has been terrific at the catcher spot. He is hitting above 300 along with Michael Conforto, Jeff McNeil. Doesn't matter where you put him in the lineup, he's been hitting, and Rosario has been able to do a very decent job towards the bottom of the lineup as well. And for the Braves, you've got a couple bats that are starting to come around as well. Josh Donaldson had himself a very nice performance on Saturday. That was nice to see. Nick Markakis hit his first home run of the year as well. You saw Camargo being able to get multiple RBI in that game on Saturday as well. He had been really struggling. Dansby Swanson has been doing a great job towards the bottom of the lineup, and Ronald Acuna Jr. is just white hot right now as well, to go along with Freddie Freeman, who's hitting above 350. So all that leads me to the New York Mets, ironically enough, just because you do have Jacob deGrom. I will say that the Mets bullpen absolutely stinks, but I think that he's going to be able to cool down those bats. I know I just read down the laundry list of Braves that were able to hit, and they really put up a crooked number yesterday, but I think that they're due for a little bit of regression, and I think that the Mets behind Jacob deGrom wins a little bit more of a pitcher's duel, as they're going to be able to get to Julio Teheran in this one. I took the Mets run line of -1.5 at +105 and locked that in. Currently on the under as well, but in wait-and-see mode as to what juice I'm going to get on that under. We move on to 965, 966 on the betting rotation. It is the Chicago White Sox on the road to face off against the New York Yankees. Masahiro Tanaka goes for the Yankees. Carlos Rodon for the Chicago White Sox. Total on this game is 8.5, and that 8.5 is shaded over. If you like the over, that is between -110 and -115. I'm actually seeing one -105 out there as well, which means that the under is anywhere between -105 and -115 as well. If you like the White Sox, you're going to get a very nice plus price, as across the board, they're between +160 and +165. Meanwhile, if you like the Yankees, you're going to be laying -180. This is a spot where I've got to take a shot on the White Sox, and I've already locked this one in. I really do like Carlos Rodon as a pitcher. We all remember a couple weeks ago he went up against the Cleveland Indians and was able to give the team a nice 8-3 win there. He sometimes gets a little bit loose with the walks, but he's got some very good plus stuff. And with the White Sox in general, they really haven't taxed their bullpen. Ivan Nova gave them a very good start yesterday, and that was huge because the Chicago White Sox bullpen is absolutely atrocious. You don't want to be betting too much on a even-up game with that. But with that said, I do think that Masahiro Tanaka also going to give a very strong start for the New York Yankees as well. He, for the year, has a 1.47 ERA, and ever since the middle of last year, he's really come around. But with the New York Yankees, something else that you have to like about the position you're in with Rodon is the fact that so many guys are banged up. Gary Sanchez is on the 10-day injured list. Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Hicks, Troy Tulowitzki, Didi Gregorius is not going to be coming back for quite some time. Despite that, they still have Luke Voigt, but he's only hitting 200. He's got 4 home runs, which is nice, but they need a little bit more there. DJ LeMahieu and Clint Frazier have both been hitting at a ridiculous clip. You still have guys like Gleyber Torres and company out there in the middle of the lineup. But for the Chicago White Sox, you have a couple mashers as well. Yoan Moncada hitting nearly 300. He's got 3 dingers and 13 RBI. I know that Jose Abreu isn't hitting for average, but he's able to provide some power. And Tim Anderson hitting 444 himself. If they're able to get Adam Engel and Daniel Polka going, it's really going to make the White Sox dangerous. And after scoring 0 runs yesterday and having a grand total of 1 hit, that 1 hit, ironically enough, came in the only at-bat of the day for Jose Rondon. You got to think that they're going to do a little bit better. You got to think that Eloy Jimenez probably going to get a base knock, and something like that is going to happen. And I do think that the White Sox are going to be able to win a little bit of a pitcher's duel in this spot. So for that reason, I am on the under, currently in wait-and-see mode as to what I'm going to necessarily get on that number for the under, but I've already locked in the Chicago White Sox as a play on the side. 967, 968 on the betting rotation is the Baltimore Orioles on the road to face off against Boston Red Sox. You've got David Price on the bump for the Boston Red Sox. Meanwhile, for the Baltimore Orioles, Jonathan Means is on the mound, and that means that you've got a total of 10.5, and it is shaded under. The under is -115 across the board. The over is -105. If you like the Baltimore Orioles, you're getting a very, very big plus price, anywhere between +220 and +230. If you want to lay it with the Boston Red Sox, you're going to be laying -260 across the board. I do like the Boston Red Sox in the spot after they got completely embarrassed yesterday, and Chris Davis, of all people, was able to get 3 hits and multiple RBI. You got to think that they're going to be hungry in this one. I do think that David Price pitches really well at Fenway as well. He's been off to a little bit of a rough start to the year. And you got to think that it's going to be a little bit tough for the Baltimore Orioles to have things going with John Means on the mound. Means has actually been good this year. He's got a 2.08 ERA. He took the loss his last time out against the Oakland A's, but that was more or less due to some crappy fielding. But when you bet on the Baltimore Orioles, that is part of what you're betting on. They have poor fielding, and they just don't have any sort of a bullpen whatsoever. Meanwhile, with the Boston Red Sox, their bullpen isn't necessarily great, but I have a little bit more faith in guys like Ryan Brazier and company being able to close out than the Baltimore Orioles. And with the Boston Red Sox, you've got some good matchers as well. J.D. Martinez is still hitting above 300. Mitch Moreland has 5 home run and 12 RBI. You know that Mookie Betts is going to come around with the bat along with Xander Bogaerts, and Andrew Benintendi seems to be hitting a little bit better. For the Baltimore Orioles, Trey Boom Boom Mancini has been terrific, hitting .339, 6 home runs, 12 RBI. Really like what he's able to provide. Jonathan VR doing a good job of being able to get on base. Chris Davis all of a sudden is hitting. Who would have dreamt that possible? It actually happened, so that's good for him. But then you've got a couple other guys that you don't know what you're going to get out of them. Rio Ruiz is only hitting .220. It's really hard to put your stock into a guy like Dwight Smith Jr., who has 2 home runs, and he's hitting right around .260, but you got to think that that's going to fall back to Jeff Rickard out there in the outfield. Not necessarily a great bat either. I think that the Red Sox are going to be able to win this game convincingly, and I think that they're going to be able to cool down the bats of the Baltimore Orioles. I've already locked in the under right now, trying to see what price I can get on the Red Sox run line. Currently, I'm seeing between -140 and -145, hoping that that can get down to more of a reasonable number like 130 or something like that. So in wait-and-see mode there, but I've already locked in that under. Next up, we go north of the border as 969-970 sees the Tampa Bay Rays on the road against the Toronto Blue Jays. Marcus Stroman goes for the Toronto Blue Jays. Charlie Morton for the Tampa Bay Rays. If you like the Rays, you're going to be laying anywhere between -135 and -136. Want to take a shot on the Toronto Blue Jays? That is anywhere between +121 and +126. Total in this game is 8, and it is shaded all over the place. If you like the under, that is anywhere between -110 and -120. The over is between even money and -110. And this is a spot where I do like the under. I really like the way the Tampa Bay Rays have been operating this year. The bullpen has been a little bit suspect in recent days, but I think that they're going to be able to pick it back up. They've got so many good arms out there in the pen that I think that they will. And with the Toronto Blue Jays, this is a squad that, even though they were able to bust out and they were able to have a win yesterday and they had a good performance a few days ago in the 7th and 8th innings, for the year they're only hitting right around 200 as a squad. Freddie Galvis has been doing a nice job in the middle of the lineup. He's hitting just below 350, 4 home run, 9 RBI. But you just still have your questions with the other guys out there. Justin Smoke is hitting just above 200. We know that he has some power, but when is he really going to put it all together? You've got Hernandez out there in the outfield. He's been hitting .215, and this outfield in general has been really bad as Randall Grichuk is still hitting below 200. Lourdes Gurriel is hitting below 200. Brandon Drury is hitting $140. Tellez is hitting .212. The list goes on and on. There's just not too many bats out there for this team. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, you got a couple guys that are swinging really well out there in the outfield. Austin Meadows and Tommy Pham at the top of the lineup are both hitting above .275. For the case of Austin Meadows, he is hitting .385 with 6 home runs and 16 RBI. He has been sensational. You gotta like the fact that Yandy Diaz has been able to hit a couple long balls so far this year. Brandon Lowe has 4 home runs and he's hitting .286. Kevin Kiermaier hitting above 300. He's hit a couple long balls. The real weakness of this team is the fact that Mike Zunino is hitting $119. That is not getting the job done. Even Willie Adames towards the bottom of the lineup has been able to provide for this team as well. But I do think that this under is going to be able to hold because I think the Rays are going to get some very good pitching, and I've already locked in that under of 8 runs because I do think that they're going to get a very good outing from Charlie Morton, who all in all is a very good pitcher. Going back to last year when I believe he was 15-2, he's just been really lights out. This year he's 2-0, 2.25 ERA, does a good job of being able to limit the walks. Very good strikeout pitcher. Marcus Stroman himself, not a bad pitcher, which is why instead of the run line, I'm just going to go with the money line here with the Rays. Right now, wait and see mode, tried to see if I can get the Rays at more around a -125 or -130 price, but have already locked in the under on this game. 971, 972 on the betting rotation. It is the Detroit Tigers, and they are in Minnesota to face off against the Twins. Jordan Zimmerman will toe the rubber for the Detroit Tigers, and then one of my favorite names goes for the Minnesota Twins as we've got Jose Barrios going for the Minnesota Twins. Total in this game is 8 in most spots. I'm seeing 7.5 out there. If you like that 7.5, the over is -120. The under is even. If you like the 8, The 8 is also shaded a little bit under. Anywhere between minus 110 and minus 125, which makes the over anywhere between minus 110 and plus 105. So this number is moving all over the place. And with the Detroit Tigers, well, you're getting a very big plus price. Anywhere between plus 173 and plus 180. If you want to lay it with the Minnesota Twins, that is anywhere between minus 190 and 2 bills. And I do like the way that Jose Barrios pitches at home. He has been sensational the past 2 years pitching at home. But I also do think that there's some value here with Jordan Zimmermann. Zimmermann for the year is 0-1 with a 2.50 ERA. He does a very good job of limiting hard contact. He doesn't give out a lot of walks. This is a type of pitcher that can have some success. The Twins, I would say, is a very, very decent lineup. They don't have any guys that are necessarily mashing and lighting the world on fire, and at the same time, they're certainly not doing awful. Nelson Cruz is hitting 286. He hasn't really been going yards so far this year, but what you had to like for this team is that Eddie Rosario was able to hit 2 RBI yesterday against the Detroit Tigers. He really got himself going. Max Kepler at the top of the lineup has been able to hit a couple home runs. He's hitting 277, and there's just so many guys that are hitting right around that 280 range for this Minnesota Twins team. A couple exceptions, CJ Cron and Marwin Gonzalez, both those guys in slumps along with Castro at the catcher position. Meanwhile, for the Tigers, their bats haven't necessarily gotten going. Miguel Cabrera seems to be hitting a little bit better. He's up to a 260 average. But we just heard from our man David Adler that Nico Goodrum is due to be able to bust out a little bit. He had the day off yesterday, so hopefully he will be in the lineup today. I'm going to be checking that to make sure that there's no injury concerns or anything like that, because I know that he was listed yesterday as day-to-day, so that's something you want to keep an eye on. Same with Nick Castellanos and Jody Mercer currently on the 10-day injured list, so if he's not able to go, they're going to be relying heavily on Christian Stewart, who has 3 home runs so far this year, but his problem is that he's batting a little bit below 200. But even if he cannot go, you've still got Jose Candelario that's able to provide some power. And with the Detroit Tigers, they actually have had some very good relief pitching so far this year. And for the Twins, they've got a couple guys in Moya and Miguel Sano that are on the 10-day injured list themselves. So I do think that the starting pitching of Jordan Zimmermann is going to be able to lift the Tigers here to victory in a lower scoring game. I'm going to take a shot here on the Tigers, and I'm going to play this total under. I've already locked in this under at minus 110 juice because I know that this number is moving around a lot. Meanwhile, I am in wait-and-see mode as to what kind of a plus price I'm going to be able to get on the Detroit Tigers. 973, 974 on the betting rotation. It is the Kansas City Royals playing host to the Cleveland Indians. Corey Kluber goes for the Cleveland Indians. Jacob Junis for the Kansas City Royals. If you like the Cleveland Indians in this spot, you're going to be laying anywhere between minus 141 and minus 145. Meanwhile, the Royals are anywhere between a plus 130 and plus 136 underdog. Total in this game is 7.5, and it's shaded both ways. If you like the over, you're able to get anywhere between minus 115 and minus 105. Same goes for the under as well. And this is a spot where I do think that runs are going to be scored, so I'm actually going to take this game over. I just don't have a lot of faith in Jacob Junis. He really pitched badly towards the end of 2018, and he hasn't been lighting the world on fire so far this year. He's got a 5.75 ERA. He issues too many free passes for my liking. I know that the Cleveland Indians aren't necessarily a team that is lighting the world on fire on offense, as they lost yesterday to, of all people, Homer Bailey, and were shut out in the process. But you got to think that a guy like Leonis Martin is going to be able to get going. Leonis Martin at the top of the lineup had been hitting a little bit better prior to yesterday. The one bright spot that you had from Saturday was Brad Miller being able to get multiple hits. He was a guy that was struggling. He's out hitting 250. You also have to like that Carlos Santana in the middle of the lineup has been hitting above 350 all year long, and Taylor Naquin out there in the outfield is providing the team a little bit of something. They need to get Jose Ramirez and Jake Bauers going. Meanwhile, for the Kansas City Royals, you got guys at the top of the lineup that do a good job of getting on. Mondesi, Whit Merrifield, and Alex Gordon are all hitting above 295, and in the case of Merrifield and Gordon, both those guys are hitting above 333. The bottom of the lineup hasn't been doing well. Lucas Duda, Martin Maldonado, and Chris Owings all hitting below 200. Jorge Soler hitting just above the Mendoza line along with Ryan O'Hearn, but Jorge Soler can provide a little bit of power as well. Corey Kluber just hasn't looked like the same Corey Kluber recently this year, but I do think that he's going to be able to provide a solid outing in this one. And for that reason, because the Kansas City Royals bullpen is also very, very bad, I'm going to look at the Indians run line. Currently, I'm seeing a price of between plus 110 and plus 115. Going to try to see if I can get more of a plus 120 or plus 125. But I have already locked in this total over because I think the Indians are going to be able to get to that bullpen, and I think they're going to hit it hard. So already locked in over 7.5 runs. Currently in wait-and-see mode on the run line. 975, 976 on the betting rotation. It is the Oakland A's, and they are facing off against the Texas Rangers out there in Arlington. This matchup is a little bit subject to change. I want to throw that out there right now. So if the pitching matchup changes, essentially just refer to what I gave you guys on the Saturday version of MLB Overtime Betting, because the game that was supposed to take place on Saturday was rained out. But as of right now, as of the time I'm doing this broadcast, it is Shelby Miller going on the mound for the Texas Rangers, Brett Anderson for the Oakland A's. Currently, if you like the Oakland A's, you're going to be laying anywhere between minus 133 and minus 142. And if you like the Texas Rangers, you're going to get anywhere between plus 123 and plus 132. Total on this game is 11, and it is shaded under. Under is minus 120. The over is even. As long as this pitching matchup holds the form, just give me the A's on the run line. Shelby Miller is just complete and utter hot garbage. This guy, ever since the middle of the 2016 season, has just not been able to find the strike zone to save his life. He's walking people with the bases loaded, and when he does give up contact, it goes very far. And with the Oakland A's, you've got a bunch of guys that are able to do a very good job of mashing. So far this year, Chris Davis has been crushing the ball. He's got 9 home runs so far this year. Jurickson Profar was able to get things righted in that series against the Baltimore Orioles. Marcus Semien at the top of the lineup hitting .319. Chad Pinder now hitting above .300. He's been able to find his power. Steven Piscotty's been off to a little bit of a rough start, but in the game on Friday, he was able to get 2 hits there. Matt Chapman hitting above .300. Kendrys Morales seems to be coming around with the bat as well. And Fiegley at the catcher spot hitting .333 as well. For the Texas Rangers, you've got a couple guys that are able to get on base in Sin Chu Chu, Elvis Andrus, and Hunter Pence has been doing a great job as well. All these guys hitting above .315, but you've got so many feast or famine players. Joey Gallo has been hitting as many singles as home runs in recent years, as Drupal Cabrera has been going yard quite a bit, but he's hitting below 200. Noah Mazzara, I have my questions with him. And then Delino DeShields Jr. just does nothing in general for me. And with the Oakland A's, you still have a very good bullpen as well, and by far the better starter out there in Anderson. He's 3-0 with a 2.5 ERA. Meanwhile, Shelby Miller, he's got an ERA above 9. Just cannot trust the Texas Rangers in the spot. It is going to be the A's on the run line, currently seeing a plus price out there of plus 110. Going to try to see if I can get a little bit more, obviously subject to change, but have already locked in this total under as well, because I do think that the A's are going to do a good job, and I think that the Shelby Miller is going to get roughed up very early, and they're going to go to a bullpen that, for the Texas Rangers, actually has been quite decent as well. We move on to 977, 978 on the betting rotation. It is the Houston Astros in Seattle to face off against the Mariners in something that's now known as T-Mobile Park. Very weird to not say Safeco. Marco Gonzalez goes for the Seattle Mariners. Garrett Cole for the Houston Astros. The Astros are a hefty favorite, anywhere between minus 154 and minus 166. That makes the Mariners plus price anywhere between plus 140 and plus 155. Total in this game is 8.5, and it is shaded all over the place. The under is between minus 115 and minus 120. The over is between even money and minus 105. I'm also seeing an 8 out there. That 8 is shaded over, minus 115 on the over. The under is minus 105. I have to take a shot on the under, and I'm going to be taking a look at the Seattle Mariners. Garrett Cole, a very fine pitcher, but I actually like what I've seen out of Marco Gonzalez so far this year. He has been unblemished, really, in his starts. He is 4-0 with a 3.16 ERA. He pitches very well to this ballpark, and Garrett Cole actually enters into this game 0-2. It's not really his fault. He has only a 3.32 ERA. He's got 25 strikeouts in his 3 starts, so he's obviously providing plus stuff. He's been walking a couple more guys than normal, 6 walks in 19 innings, but opponents hitting just a $183 off of him, so I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. And for the Seattle Mariners, you are dealing with some injuries out there with the pitching in general. Sam Tuviala, I hope I said that correctly. I'm sure I did not, but I gave it a shot. and Jason Bradford, both relievers, are on the injured list. Wade LeBlanc and Yusei Kikuchi are both day-to-day starting pitchers as well, so they could really use a good outing from Marco Gonzalez, and I think he's going to be able to provide it. And with the Seattle Mariners, they are going up against a great pitcher, but they've got so many bats that are going. Domingo Santana, 4 home runs, 22 RBI. I know that Jay Bruce has been a bit injured and inconsistent this year, but he's got 7 home run and 13 RBI, despite the fact that he's hitting a little bit below 200. And then you've got other guys that are stepping up. Daniel Vogelbach has been going deep a lot. We all know about the power of Ryan Healy. Mitch Haniger seems to be able to do a little bit of everything. Tim Beckham has been hitting above 300 all year long, and D. Gordon doing a great job of being able to get on base. Meanwhile, for the Astros, the bats have been a little bit inconsistent so far this year, but they seem to have found their watermark. Jake Marisnik, whenever he's in there, has been sensational. He's hitting above 350. Michael Brantley has been picking things up recently, along with Jose Altuve, George Springer, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa. They've all been doing a great job. And even Chirinos at the catcher spot has been getting the job done as well. So I do think that even though you've got a lot of bats out there, I am going to take this total under, and I'm in wait-and-see mode as to what kind of juice I'm going to get on that under, but I do think that the Mariners, with their bats and the way that the Astros have just not been providing a lot of support for Garrett Cole, going to be able to get the win in this one. Right now, wait-and-see mode on the plus price and the total in this one, but I'm going to be on the under and the Seattle Mariners. And we wrap things up with 979, 980 on the betting rotation. It is the Angels, still in Chicago, to face off against the Cubs. Tyler Chatwood goes for the Cubs. Meanwhile, Trevor Cahill on the bump for the Angels. If you like the Angels, you're going to get a plus price anywhere between plus 123 and plus 133. If you want to lay with the Cubs, you're going to be laying anywhere between minus 143 and minus 135. Tyler Chatwood is absolutely awful, and the fact that he's getting another chance to start is unwarranted. It is unacceptable. This team just should not be relying upon that whatsoever. It gives a big break to the Angels, who were able to win yesterday, and they got their offense ignited. I do think that this is a spot where you have to take the Angels. I've already locked them in with that plus price. I do like Trevor Cahill as a pitcher. He was very good with the Oakland A's last year. Not a guy that's going to necessarily blow it by you and is going to light the world on fire in regards to strikeouts. He gets about 8 per 9 innings, but he does a good job of not allowing guys to hit him very hard. He gave up a 227 opponent's batting average last year. For the year this year, opponents are hitting just 212 off of him. He does a very good job of being able to mix up his pitches. He doesn't issue too many free passes, just 2 walks and 3 starts so far this year. With the Angels, you know that Mike Trout is going to be out of this game. Looks like he's going to be reevaluated today on his sore groin, but in the game yesterday, they were able to get 2 hits out of Justin Bour. He's now up to 186, and the fact that I say up to when I say that number is pretty sad, but Brandon Goodwin out there in the outfield hitting above 300. Daniel Fletcher is hitting 300 as well. Both these guys doing a nice job of being able to get on base. Albert Pujols has been able to provide some power the past couple days. He's got an RBI back-to-back games. You have to really question what Zach Cozart is bringing to the table. He's hitting just a $108, but he had 3 hits yesterday. Perhaps that's what he needed to get going. And Jonathan Lucroy at the catcher spot has actually been decent. And we know the Chicago Cubs bats are very, very strong. Daniel Descalso, Ben Zobrist at the top of the lineup hitting above 300. Anthony Rizzo only hitting 192 this year. That's a little bit of a surprise, but Javi Baez, Jason Hayward, Wilson Contreras, they have all been doing a good job along with Bodie as well. Kyle Schwarber's in a little bit of a slump. You got to think that he's going to bust out of it, but all in all, with the way that the Cubs bullpen has been very up and down this year, I just have my questions with them. I do feel like Trevor Cahill, a much better starter. There just is no trusting Tyler Chatwood in this spot, so this is a direct fade of him. There's currently no total on the board in this game because of the Wrigley Field win and all the external things that go into Wrigley Field, as we talked about with our fine guest in the second segment in David Adler. And a big thank you to him for joining me in the second segment right here on MLB Overtime Betting. But when there is a number up there in the morning, I will have a play on it, and that'll be noted on my Twitter page at @unit_81, which is also where you can ask any questions for this fine podcast, because that was the last game on the betting board. And if you notice, I did a very nice segue there. So you are welcome. And if you like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, you can subscribe on Apple, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. And I love talking at you guys. Every day that there is bettable games in baseball, I will be doing this podcast for you guys, and I appreciate you listening. Let's make today a successful and profitable one, and thank you so much for tuning in.